Without a doubt, the most amazing feat that Christianity pulled off has been to pull together a worldwide following based upon a single book, the Bible. It was pieced together from ancient writing from up to 2,000 years ago, which has been translated from another language at least once at the minimum. Much of the copying was done with mistakes, parts have been left out, and has been carried out through oral tradition. The Bible is split into the Old Testament, 39 books, and into the New Testament, which consists of 27. The 27 include the Gospels, consisting of Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, the 21 epistles, the Acts of the Apostles, and the Revelation. Luke is attributed for writing the Acts of the Apostles and John for Revelation. The origins of the Bible range from scraps and fragments such as the Gospel of John to full manuscripts like Codex Vaticanus. It is also largely made up of oral tradition, which in some ways is like a huge game of telephone lasting years. Initially, Jesus had about 20 followers still believing him after his crucifixion, which was in 30 CE. Just for a time reference, Mark was thought to have been around 65 or 70, Luke and Matthew were around 80, 85, and John was 95, though the fragments of his gospel are found somewhere near 150 CE. By the end of the first century, the greater portion of the Middle East and the Eastern Mediterranean had Christian communities. Another strong point for early Christianity was the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient Hebrew scripture that was found on the western Dead Sea shore, now known as Qumran. It was close to 1,000 years earlier than previously older scripture. The New Testament didn't acknowledge them, but gave proof. Let's backtrack a little bit. The oldest full manuscripts could be attributed to the Codex Vaticanus, the Codex Sinaiticus. Some of the oldest scraps were found in Nag Hammadi, which consists of 13 fragmentary books written in Coptic, ancient Egyptian. Between fragments and full manuscripts, we have about 5,700 or more pieces of text to pull from. The earlier the manuscript, the more rare it was. We have no autographs, no original author, no original copies to pull from. These were not years, but centuries old. Between the 5,700 manuscripts, we have no exact duplicates. This was largely in part due to scribes, who were often monks, making mistakes, both intentional and unintentional. Intentional mistakes may have been changing the text because they didn't like the previous wording, or adding stories such as Jesus and the woman taken in adultery. Unintentional mistakes may have been leaving out words or entirely leaving out lines. Capitalization distinction in ancient Greek, nor were there spaces, often resulting in miscommunication. Authors were also rarely witnesses to the events of the Gospels, and there is hard evidence of them making up stories. These made-up stories usually had some virtuous quality to them, however. An analogy of George Washington telling the truth after cutting down the cherry tree is similar. It wasn't exactly historically accurate, but they stressed good morals. Not having the exact duplicates presented a problem, what biblical historians like to call the synoptic problem. There are agreements and disagreements within the Gospels, particularly between Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The solution to this is called the four-source hypothesis. Matthew definitely used Mark as a source, as did Luke. Matthew and Luke used a separate source, Q. Matthew appeared to have another source, M, and for Luke, L. Mark was known as the cornerstone source and was known for Mark in priority. The whole point of this mangled web of sources that it is simply amazing that a religion can be founded on such seemingly small bits of information. It doesn't matter what faith of the world you belong to, for you to be able to appreciate how the writing and oral tradition from 2,000 years ago can still be functioning stronger than anyone could have imagined then.